How's everybody doing?
Oh, how about you?
Super.
Trying to keep
Doing
energy
great.
up. It's already 3:30, so I think we all probably in the same boat. All right, so I'm just waiting for Bruce to get on here. I'm going to keep a watch for him to get on. But before we do that, I'll go ahead and get started. I want to keep to everybody's time. So if you can see my background, this is what we're going to be doing today. I'm going to welcome everybody in. So thank you all for coming. Let's see, where are we at right now? We're at 29 participants, so it's not bad so far. I'm sure more will jump on. So just to give you an idea, this is what our goals are going to be for this class today, okay? We're going to share some best practices in Market Center and Command MC and in DocuSign. We're going to try and answer some of those burning questions that you might have, and then we're also going to gain some insight around tips and tricks within those systems. And then we're possibly going to learn what might be coming in the future if we can get Bruce to maybe share a few little things with you. And I want to introduce him, but I'll wait until he gets in here, obviously. Then as soon as we get done with that, we'll go into a questions and answers session. I asked a whole bunch of the MCAs and some of our Market Center tech trainers if they could submit some questions on what could be answered. So we got a bunch of questions in here that I've submitted to him already so that he can be prepared. And I'm sure if we can get through these, he can answer a few more. And then as soon as we get done with that questions and answers session, we will be wrapping up. We'll try and keep right to the time. So other than, is there anything that's really burning while we're waiting for him to get in here? Is there anything really burning on your mind that you want to get answered? What would be a win to walk away with today?
Timeline of what's upcoming.
Is there anything specifically that you're looking forward to seeing on that?
Is it okay if I say everything?
That's what we say on the labs call. What do you want? All of it.
What do you want? Yep.
Put it all there. We'll take the combo pizza. Just put it all on there. Bruce,
Hi,
meeting right before. Hello.
hey, I was wondering if maybe we could find out how to add custom items on the commissions tab.
Custom items. Okay.
Yeah, like we could add our in-house KW cares, KW Palm Beaches cares on the commission
It's on
tab.
there. It's on there, and there's a place on there for them to put that.
Cool. So we'll go over that. We'll talk about it. So some of you maybe have more experience using that portion of it. We'll ask you if you can share some of that. Let's see.
Ryan, I have a question.
Yeah.
On the commissions tab, is it possible to get the closing company or the title company? I know when I bring them into Winmore and I'm printing my DAs out of Winmore, the closing company, title company is not on the DA anymore. It's not pulling across from command.
Okay.
I just add it when I close it. Is that what you're saying? It's not pulling over then, or when you're pulling it in from command? Am I on mute?
Thanks, Lori. When I'm pulling it in from command is when it's not adding it. So when I'm printing the DAs to give them to the agents, the title company is not on it. So all these DAs are going out to the title companies, giving them permission to pay our people, but it's not, the title company's not on it. So it's, who's the permission being given to?
That's not an issue in here anyway. I never have it on there till I post it.
Yeah,
I don't think
you're not required to have it, Wendy. It's not required to be on there.
So I don't need it on it only when it comes back, and then I post it as closed.
Right.
Then I enter the title company.
Right.
Yep.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. We were just used to having
meeting
it on
over.
there, so the agents have been asking me if it's going to be back on there. Okay.
Well, you can add it. You can probably add it in when you pull it in Winmore. Add it at that time if you can find it in your vendors.
Right, but what's happening is when the commission tab is feeding into Winmore, it's not giving me the title company information. So in order to find the title company information, I would have to go back into
You could go in
Command
your
and look at their actual contract.
Okay. I gotcha. Okay.
On the
Or not necessarily, it would be on the Alta, because a lot of people, some places just hold the escrow is not necessarily the title company.
Right,
So you need to
Yeah.
check the Alta, which
Right.
is, we add it after at closing is when we add the
That's
mortgage
what we do.
and the title company.
Mm-hmm. It's us too.
All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started here. Bruce just joined us. He's coming off of one meeting right into another, so really appreciate you, Bruce, jumping in here. If you don't know who Bruce is, Bruce is the MCA guru, and he's also a product manager over at KW Labs. So we're lucky to have him in here. He's the person I kind of bug every now and then when it comes to the DocuSign stuff. So I'll leave it up to you, Bruce. I know we gave you a bunch of questions, and there's a couple other questions that have come up, but we'll kind of hit on the ones you've already got since you were able to prepare for those. Do you have anything you want to add?
No. So, how do you want to go ahead and do this afternoon? What format you want to take?
Yeah. So basically,
meeting.
I put it on my screen, but I've already welcomed everybody, and I introduced myself, but I wanted to introduce you, which I just did, and then told them what we're going to do is we're going to share best practices, and we're going to talk about answering those questions that were submitted to you.
Okay.
Also, we're going to gain some insight around some of the different tips and tricks maybe within the system of Command MC and within DocuSign, and then we're going to try and see if we can twist your arm to share any future stuff coming up, and then Q&A time right after that if there's anything left over.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and read off the questions that I submitted to you. If you
So
want to,
I kind of regrouped them a little bit because
Okay.
there was some questions about commissions.
right.
There was another section about DocuSign. And then there was a couple that I would just call regular support issues that probably need to go through support, and because they're very specific, and it's really hard to talk very specifics on a big call like this because everybody else doesn't want to hear about one market center's problems. So we can talk through those, but in general, so commissions. And there was a couple others, and we'll let you ask your questions. So just the overall theme of where commissions is and where it's headed. How about we start with that, and then we can let you guys ask a few questions specific to commissions. So right now, and there's a couple things inside of opportunities right now that we know is something that you guys would like to see change. We're actually got labs going on it. And one of those is the fact that you can really only submit one commission. And that doesn't feel really good because then we have to submit a green sheet in order to submit a second one. But unfortunately, that is the way the system is. But this is part of anytime you're doing any kind of a migration from one platform to another. There's two ways we could have done this. We could have said, okay, we're going to build new technology over the next 5 years. You're not going to see any of it. And we're going to spring it on you all at once. And then you have to go learn a whole new system in 2 days in order to run your business. Or we release it iteratively like we've been doing. And that's one of the big things about Command and Command MC. So one of the things we are working on that you'll see sometime this summer is the ability to submit multiple commissions. It's really making it where commissions and offers are kind of tied together instead of commissions tied to the opportunity directly like they are today. So that's one of the directions that we are headed that will probably fix a few of the questions that you had in here. Give me just a second. I got Jason Abrams wanting to talk to me. I need to let him know I'm on a call. Okay. Apologize. So that'll handle some of these things probably that were asked in here about, you know, the fact that I can only submit one commission. So today, you don't really want to tell the agent to go create a new opportunity because then they have to track, you know, really, opportunity doesn't equal offer. Offers are inside of a single opportunity. And we'll be changing that functionality up, like I said, this summer. With that, we've made some changes to the commission input screen. And one of the factors in there is that it used to be where the unit and the commission were completely independent. And this is one of those things that if you put it to a vote, you're going to get an even exact 50-50 split on what people wanted. There were some people that said the unit should always dictate the commission, and there was others that said the unit should never dictate the commission, because not everybody splits commission according to the unit. And so the middle ground there became that little calculate commission button inside. So if you want the commission to equal the portion of the unit, then you can just click that little button and it'll auto calculate for you. Because what we came down to once we heard enough people talking was, it wasn't necessarily they wanted the commission to equal the unit, they just didn't want to have to do the math in their head, right? So that's when we introduced and we changed up that commission entry screen to be a little bit more fluid. We have noticed a lot less support tickets once we made that change. So that answers, I think, majority of the things that were kind of commission related. What other questions you guys have regarding commissions on a big picture, not my agent A has a problem filling out this on this property, that we don't want to get into support issues. Let's talk, training and questions. What questions you guys have related to commissions?
Bruce, will we have an ability to have a custom Market Center Cares account on Green Sheets? We could have a mandatory field where our agents could do that, as well as a code book information for Green Sheet referrals. Is there a way to give us that option on this as well?
Eventually there will be, but we need to have a place where you can actually create your Market Center specific details like that. So it's just not quite ready to where we can do that. We still have to build out some infrastructure to get to that point. Because teams want commission templates, so they want, every time they go in there, they want to automatically add their rainmaker and 50-50 split and all these other things. So there's a lot of features in there that we still have yet to go, and this will continue to evolve over time. As far as the co-broker, one thing to keep in mind is the co-broker is already in there. It's just not on the commission tab where everybody equates to the green sheet. So they say, since I don't see it on commissions, it's not here. It's actually a part of the offer. When an agent fills out the offer, they have to put the name of the agent on the other side of the transaction on there. So you actually do have the co-broker information on the offer if you just click over into the offer tab instead of looking at the commission tab.
I got a question here in the chat. It is from John. Is there going to be a transaction fee not as a bonus in the commission section?
That's certainly something that we could consider doing. Right now, we're bringing it into parity in what Winmore has, and there is no such a field in Winmore. So this would be something we'd have to look at doing down the road when it doesn't have to translate into Winmore speak in order to do such a thing.
Okay. So that would be suggested to go put that in ideas.kw.
Yeah, go through that. There's track of the need for that. And I'm assuming when you say that, a transaction fee that you charge the client, so it's a 2.8% plus $500 transaction fee on a listing or something like that, that it's a commission plus, which today the bonus field works for that, but I understand why you might want to track it separate.
Another question we have is, it's a pretty good question. Will we be able to create opportunity for an agent with both sides as opposed to creating two separate ones?
So down the road, there will probably be the ability to link the two, but if you really think about it, no transaction ever starts off as a double-sided deal. Your agent, when they get the buyer, the buyer doesn't walk up and say, I want to buy your listing most of the time, right? You're working with a buyer, you have a listing, and down the road, it just so happens they look at your listing and that's the one they want to purchase. So it's going to start off with your agent as two separate opportunities anyway, and it is two sides of the transaction. But that doesn't mean we can't find some ways creatively down the road to be able to link those up together so that you are a little bit more aware that it is both sides of a transaction, and maybe it keeps the statuses a little bit more in sync.
All right. All right, so Sonia's asking, in referrals right now, it forces an agent to enter their broker's info, EIN, address, etc. Will there eventually create an outside broker within one more?
Eventually, once we're able to pull all that data in, because not all of that data comes into our system today that you have in Winmore. Eventually, we do want to bring in the outside broker database, so where you can just choose from a drop-down menu if it's in there. But today, until we can get to that point, we have to have the agent enter that information.
All right, so Market Center 302 is asking, will an expansion team have to enter the outside referral tab for each of their deals, or can it be saved somewhere as their deals have an outside referral?
Yeah, so that goes back to those commission templates that we have been asked about. And again, we'll get there. It's just we need to get some basics of the system down before we can start getting some of these fun features in there.
Here's a good one. I know Chevelle's asked this before. Can we get our office W-9s into DocuSign?
Explain what you mean by that.
Chevelle, you want to?
Yes.
Do
Thank
more?
you. Hey, Bruce. So the issue we're having is an agent needs access to our W-9, but when I sent over the custom form to DocuSign to be added to, our KW73 library, they said we can't submit a form that's already pre-filled. So that was the reason why they were unable to have our W-9. But there's nowhere else that we can essentially store our W-9 for an agent to access.
So there is the ability, you could store it on Connect, you can store it in your Connect groups, whereas the intranet. So there's other choices. Just remember, DocuSign isn't a document repository. Document is a transaction completion system. It's a transaction management software designed to get signatures, not to just let you upload all of your training materials and all your documents that your agents may need to access over a period of time. So that's why, now if you submitted a blank W-9, so that your agent could get it filled out by the, a co-broker, they would load that because it's a blank form. But something that's already filled out, that's just not the intent of the system. So I would look at where you might be able to store that on the internet or on Connect in your Connect group or something like that for them to access.
Okay, will do. Thank you.
All right. Chevelle's up again with another question here. Is there a way to delete an agent from the office? We have an MCA from an office nearby showing up in our agent's room.
So this is a two-part thing, and we're slowly tracking a lot of these down. Unfortunately, back in the very beginning, we had several MCAs that after creating the Market Center account, they went in and added that to their personal DocuSign account. The KLRW address DocuSign account is not any one person's account and should never be connected to command under the personal account settings. We've actually eliminated the ability to do that now, but we still have some ramifications of people that went and did this. What that meant is they had it connected to their account, and now their roles, their offices, and everything else got added to that account. So I think I know the one in specific, and I've already looked it up, and we've already cleared that up for you, by the way. I looked at that last night. But the minute that happens, now we have 3 other offices that they had roles in that are now applied to that. And so every time you create a room in one office, it says, oh, this person's also an MCA in that office, and it starts adding them. And so just understand that KLRW address is there for you to manage your DocuSign form groups and your templates. It's not for anyone really to use as their own personal account. Right? Everybody should have their own DocuSign account outside of that.
All right. Emily asks, if a listing is lost, will there be an option to put it in the same opportunity instead of starting a new one?
Actually, a contract, sorry, a contract.
So that's what we're working on, is multiple commissions where each offer has its own commission instead of one commission for the opportunity.
Right. Brenda asked, the MCA does not have the ability to click on the offer to see a co-broker. From what I've seen, the agent sees the offers tab and we don't. Is that right?
You should see the offers tab.
So
I'll have to go validate that, but from what I understand, you should be able to see it. You can't edit anything on that page, but you can see it.
Lori's asking, is there a way for Command MC to view all the associates information that was submitted into the offers tab? Lori, can you kind of give us a little bit more explanation on that?
Yeah.
Like, is there a way from Command MC to see a report of all of the co-broke information that was submitted through all of our agents offers tabs?
There is no reporting in Command MC yet related to transactions, no.
Okay.
That would be something just like Green Sheets. So again, first thing was parity with what Green Sheets did. Second step is you start, improving on everything. So similar to Green Sheets, every time you process one, you would need to note who that is so that you can then take advantage of it. There isn't anything where you can report on that quite yet.
Okay.
This next question from Ariel is probably more of a best practices question. If one of our agents referred a listing to another agent or outside broker, how do we do the commission so that the agent can get paid?
You do it the same way you've always done. That's a referral. I mean, so the business rules of our system don't change. Referrals are still referrals. They still have to be processed as such. You could argue that that could be an inside referral. I always caution all my agents to avoid inside referrals because they cause a lot more problems, I think, than they do good at times. If it's a fixed dollar amount, I didn't mind inside referrals as much, but anytime they say I'm going to share 20%, you don't want to do an inside referral because then you get into an argument. Is that 20% net? Is that 20% gross? You get into a whole lot of arguments on that. But as for how the commission is broken down and what's an outside referral and all that, those all rules stay the same. This system is just tracking it in a different system. It's not changing the rules of how real estate works.
So Ryan, if I may be able to elaborate a little bit on my question. So Bruce, the question was actually if it was the other way around. So what if one of our agents referred a listing to someone outside, and they're just getting, a referral commission, like just getting $1,000 or whatever, and they got the referral agreement. How can we put that then in commission? There's no option to put where, okay, this is just a referral that we're receiving, not that we're the agent and we're paying out a referral.
So I would probably be doing this the same way I always did referrals even before this system. And that is they have to submit all the referral paperwork to me that they referred a deal out. So the referral agreement, and it doesn't actually go in Winmore until you receive the check. So unfortunately, we don't have a system yet that really can track those incoming referrals like we would like. Eventually we will get there as well. But that's probably something that is easier. I know some that have said that they try to do that like either through probably the leasing side, but I don't know that that's probably the best way to do it. I think this is probably something that still just has to be handled a little bit separately until we can have a better system for tracking incoming referrals.
Got it.
A question on rentals. I noticed that when you pull them into the DA, it doesn't bring over the landlord and tenant information. Is that something the agent is missing when they're creating the offer, since you don't get the offer automatically?
So there is no offer in the leasing side. It goes straight from you create an opportunity and then you fill out the commissions. So if it's not in there, then it won't be, we won't have it to come from Winmore. So if you're not getting that data, most likely that data was left blank.
Okay. I thought they had to create the actual offer for it to flow over and to cut the commissions out.
Leases work differently. They don't actually have offers.
Yeah, I know, but then how do they get into the commissions tab? You don't have to create an offer.
They can create a commission directly. There is no offer to create before commissions comes up. So
we were having them create a commission, create an actual offer, so they don't need to do that step.
They can't do that in leases. So if they're doing an offer, they're doing it inside of a listing or a buyer side opportunity because there is no such thing in the leasing side.
Okay. All right. All right. So I'll tell them to stop then and just go straight to the commissions.
All right, so Lori has a question on, can we have our broker of record populate as a person in each room automatically upon creation in DocuSign?
We're looking into some potentials for that, but we don't have a response for right now.
Okay. And Chevelle says, yay, yay, thank you, Bruce. Then we have Sebastian. I had an agent making a wrong opportunity and we wanted to copy the docs from one room to another room. And the system didn't allow it. It gave him an error. Is there a way to copy and move docs between rooms?
Between rooms, no.
Okay.
No, the system assumes that the documents you put in there go with the transaction you're doing it. So agents do need to be careful when they're uploading things. We are looking at the ability potentially to allow agents to delete information, but there actually is no functionality to copy stuff from room to room that I know of. I'll have to double check on that.
The only way you could do that is if you were to email them and email them specifically to that room. So you would have to email your actual room number, but it's not going to make it so that you can fill those out. They're going to be flat PDFs.
Or download and then upload. I mean, either one of those.
We want just one click. We don't want too many steps. They already complaining about that.
All right, so Deanna is asking, can compliance create an opportunity on behalf of an agent without logging in as them? And for example, an agent has left the market center and gone to a competitor and they have a closing, they didn't create the opportunity and we get a check and paperwork after they've left.
You cannot create opportunities for agents at this time. So your best bet there is your broker or somebody creates the opportunity and submits it on the behalf.
Good question. All right. Sonia asks, says, I would love for the for the custom tag to stay on the commissions tab, not just the compliance tab.
We are looking at displaying it in other locations. It's just going to take some time to get it there. So the first place we put it was compliance, and then you'll eventually be able to see it inside the opportunity, and then we'll also be looking at putting it on like the commission requests and other places.
Chevelle's curious as to why it's mandatory to create and accept an offer before you're able to access or submit your commission. Need to know to explain this better to the agents.
Because you have not earned a commission unless you have an accepted offer, right? You cannot have a commission unless you have an offer on your property. So that is the purpose behind those two. Now, again, some of that functionality is going to get blended a little bit when we go to multiple offers. But you still have to have an offer or a contract, if you will, on a property before you've earned any commission.
I would also talk to them about the fact that you're able to track all the different offers you submitted too. So once you start, if you've gone with a buyer and submitted 5-6 offers, maybe it's time to start talking to them about how we're submitting those offers and maybe review that.
Yeah.
Let's see, Dan's asking, buyer under contract falls out, lost the opportunity, archive opportunity, or edit current opportunity. I guess he's asking the best practice there.
So the opportunity itself is still there, right? So you would continue working, you can version your documents. And now this is where we, again, get into the little tricky part where you can only submit commission once. So if they've already submitted one offer and it falls through at inspections, then you're going to terminate that offer. You're not going to be able to submit commissions again inside a command. You'll have to do that through a green sheet until we get the multiple commissions released. But an offer, a buyer is one offer, or I'm sorry, one opportunity. You may take 3 offers to get there, but that buyer is the opportunity. A seller is the opportunity on that one property. So you may have multiple offers against that property, but it's still one opportunity to earn commission. It's just how hard you have to work to get there, right?
I think what you were talking about before, as far as attaching the commission to each one, will help fix a lot of that.
Yeah, that's gonna alleviate a lot of issues. That's why it's our #1 priority right now on commissions.
Nice. See, number 587 is asking, once a commission request is submitted and DA is created, when there needs to be a revision that needs to be done, will the agents be able to revise in the commission request, and how do MCAs clear open commissions?
So that's where right now they're just going to have to message you to say, hey, I need these changes. Eventually we'll have some workflow in there where they could submit changes. But no, once a DA is created, you cannot edit the commissions inside a command any longer at this point in time. As far as open basically means your agent has accepted an offer or done something so that you have a commission status, but they haven't submitted it yet. So open just means I have deals that my agents haven't submitted.
Great. Deanna's asking, can we add something in the commissions where there's a field to put in referring agent's name so it will print on the DA?
There is no custom fields right now inside of opportunities, and there's actually not a field for a referring agent to print on the DA either. Now, if they are paying out a referral, you're going to book that as any normal referral. And I know that a lot of agents, they're not going down to that add items. So here's the difference in philosophy. The green sheet, as you scrolled through it, showed you every single field known to man on that form that you could possibly fill out. And what we heard, I'm tired of scrolling through all this stuff that's not needed. So we went the other way with commissions. It's the basic commission form, and you add anything extra you need. So if you need to add an outside referral, click on add item, add an outside referral. If you need to add a deduction, click on add item and add a deduction. Again, that was just done through labs when we heard everybody, all of our agents saying, don't make me scroll through all this stuff that just doesn't apply to most of my transactions.
All right, here's one on DocuSign. So is DocuSign going to allow agents to download blank forms? Right now, you can download a form from, I'm assuming this means DocuSign, without a sample text on the form. You should be able to download blank forms now. If you just
actually, you can't.
Can't?
DocuSign didn't, or as far as I know, .loop didn't allow you to either. There are a lot of states that, because those are copyrighted, their rules actually state you cannot download a blank form. You have to fill it out and then send it to your client or do something. So you can actually print it out as soon as you put something on that form. So I'm not saying you have to have it 100% complete, but you have to have something in there in order to print it.
The way I've worked it so far is if I didn't put any details in and I have added those forms to the room, I can just go ahead and hit download and it's pretty much blank.
It probably inserted a few fields you just don't realize were automated through the details. And it was, like I said, I'm not saying you have to complete the form, but you have to put something on it for it to be able to print without that word sample across it.
Gotcha.
And this is a carryover. DocuSign or Zip Forms has been that way for years for California Association. Actually, you could get fined for downloading a blank form in California.
Bruce, I know when we had .loop, we were able to download the blank form from .loop. That's why I was just asking that.
They must have changed something because I know at one point in time you couldn't.
Yeah.
Unless it was board by board specific, which might be the other case.
It might be because when we want to go wet sign at the seller's table, we want to download the blank forms first.
Yeah. Typically, if I was doing that, I'd just go ahead and put their name and stuff in anyways, then download it and then have them wet sign it. But
yeah,
putting something in there.
Again, you don't have to fill out the entire form. You just have to put something on it in most cases.
Yeah. If we do an outside referral manually, is there a way to input the numbers on command so the agents can track their production numbers?
Agents can still do some of their referrals through the referral tool. So hopefully they're actually using that, and that's agent tracking, but we just don't have tracking on the market center level.
On transactions pulled into Winmore, I have transactions where the buyer's agent is not receiving any commission and their info is reflected on the DA with a 0 commission along with the Rainmaker's commission. Is this a default for teams?
Right now, the only person that should be on that by default is the person that's logged in doing, or the owner or the person of the commission. So we don't automatically put team members, Rainmakers, or anything on the commission tab. Somebody had to go add those people. It's not happening automatically.
Okay. Errol is asking, how can we add 3 buyers to DocuSign form in details?
Once you get it into the envelope, you can go add another person. So here's the thing to think about. and a lot of people fault DocuSign for this. They actually faulted .loop for this. Your real estate commission is the one that designs forms for only 2 signatures. Forms vendors are required to set those forms up to be used as intended. So you can argue all day long what that really means, but in most cases that means I can only add the 2 signatures that are intended. And if you want to add more, you need to figure out how to do that. And that would typically be done through the envelope by just dragging extra fields onto the form.
All right, and will we have the ability to search the opportunity by DA number?
You already can if you go to the commission tab.
There you go.
Actually, you might even be able to do it on compliance. I'm not 100% sure. But you can search by DA number on one of those. I'd have to go double check which one.
Deanna's asking, how do we clear an opportunity in Winmore that is pending import at station?
You go in and just change the status. You update it inside a command and then re-import it.
All right, and
well, back up on that real quick. I tried that and it still didn't work when I went in to clear it, and it cleared it for the moment and then it came right back.
If it cleared for the moment, then somebody tried to import it again and it still had errors to it. So the biggest issue that we've seen with that is that for some reason the KWRI amount isn't getting set properly. So return it to your agent and have them make sure to put in a KWRI deduction. That can be 0. It doesn't have to be, a certain amount. It can be 0, and then resubmit it.
All right, this deal had already closed and this agent was just doing, .loop DocuSign. So it was just a matter of me clearing it out. So when I went in and I tried to, follow the instructions, it still came back.
If you're trying to import it, something's wrong with it that it keeps getting stuck in that status.
And I think
you should be able to open it. You should be able to open it up, the commission inside of the opportunity, and change it back. And I would recommend you just return it to the agent, have them double check all the data, and then hit resubmit.
Okay. Okay.
And then Sonia said that compliance, you can search by DA. She went and checked. She's also asking if we will eventually have the ability to submit a commission request on behalf of the agent.
There's talk and consideration of it about what we should allow the market centers to do. We're trying to be really careful about not getting to a point where the agents get really, let's just say, sloppy, and we're doing everything for them.
All right, so that's it on the questions other than Deanna making a statement. She has 3 stuck in commissions in Winmore right now. Do you want to kind of explain what you mean by stuck, Deanna? Maybe we can help you figure that out.
Kind of what AO was saying. I've tried re-importing and they just keep getting stuck in the same spot.
And that's where I would go check and, like I said, return it to the agent and then have them make sure that the deduction or the KWRI amount is filled in. We will eventually get it to where that's resolved a little bit more. We're working on this multiple commissions. So instead of going back and fixing a couple little bugs with the current input, we figure we just completely revise it anyway, and it'll be a moot point once we get that done. So for now, return it, just have them go in and again, put an amount in KWRI. That's usually what hangs it up. The only other thing that I've seen hang it up is they put a bunch of weird special characters in the name field. So make sure the name field is really just basic characters, not a bunch of special characters, because that Winmore looks at it and some special characters actually throw off data import because it's expecting, that certain characters separate fields, and so it pushes, fields into new fields when it's not supposed to. So number one, just make sure that they've got an amount, whatever that is. It can be 0 in the KWRI amount, and make sure the name doesn't have a bunch of special characters.
Helen's asking if you can add a title agent field. This is a mandatory field on green sheets.
You can have your agents enter that in the notes section, and if they don't, you could return it back to them. But you don't have anything in there for vendors yet. We will be working on that.
Okay. Now, that's all the questions I have in the Zoom chat, so I'm going to go throw a question out there for you. Bruce, what are maybe a couple of your favorite features in DocuSign that maybe are newer that we didn't have in .loop that might help make the agent's life a little easier?
So not necessarily newer, but some things that people don't realize you can do. For agents that need to sign the documents themselves, I've heard some agents say, well, I don't like having to email it to myself before I can sign it. You still do have to prep the envelope because that's actually where you assign who signs what and all of that. But as an agent, as soon as I've created an envelope and sent it to my clients, if I'm one of those signers, I actually don't have to go to my email and click the link to go sign. If you are in the room and you click on envelopes, you'll actually see where one of the envelopes or the one that you just sent will say that you need to sign. If you click on that, it'll give you the option to sign from that instead of going out to your email. So that's one thing I just don't see a lot of agents using because they don't really realize it's there. Now, if you set it up where you don't sign until your clients sign, then you can still sign from that envelope spot I just mentioned. You just have to wait until your clients have signed because you've set that signing order.
A lot of people get a pop-up that shows up saying that, hey, do you want to go ahead and sign? But you have to have really good eyesight to see that because within seconds it disappears. Is there a way to get that to stay there so we can click it?
That's because we're redirecting you immediately back to the room. So we'll see about that and see if there's any way we can delay the redirect on something like that. The other thing is not realizing that you could set your broker as a sequential signer. So the client sign, I sign, then it goes to my broker to sign, and you could actually have it as a part of the signing process. I know a lot of people are saying, well, once it gets back to the room, then I turn around and send it to my broker. Why not just have that as a part of the signing process to where, like, especially a listing agreement, if they have to sign that, just make them the third person to sign the agreement after your clients and after you have. So there's some of those things that I think probably, and then if you want to, similar to what .loop could, just go into the details page and filling out a lot of that information first and then going into your documents, because it might be a little bit hard sometimes to figure out, like on legal descriptions and some other things, what am I filling out here? If you do it on the details, it'll just populate onto the forms automatically. The other thing, and I think it was talked about in your initial questions, and this is something I don't know how many people really think through or think about, but when somebody's signing on behalf of, so you have an LLC that's selling a property. And I think I saw this in the questions where they change it to the LLC name, but then they're upset because that changes the client name everywhere else. Well, it should. The LLC is who should be listed as the client on any of those documents. But it's the trustee, the CEO, whoever that's actually signing the documents, right? Well, keep in mind, anytime you send something for signature, one of the first boxes that pops up is how do you want your signature to read? This is where you have the opportunity to change, what you want. So in my case, let's say I go to, Virgil Family Trust LLC. That's all over the forms, and that's what you send it to using my email address. When that signature pops up, I'm going to say, no, I don't want Virgil, Family Trust LLC to be my signature. I want my name, comma, trustee to be the signature. You can actually type that in to the name field, and that's then how your signature will read. And that's really the way most documents should be set up. The legal entity selling the property or buying the property is who should be listed on the forms, not the person that's signing on behalf of that entity, right? The only place it needs to read their name is the actual signature itself. And unless there's some special situations out there that I'm just not aware of, that's actually how we had to do it in .loop too. So that's actually nothing new. It's just when you adopt your signature, knowing that you can change what it reads to whatever, if you want to insert your middle name, spell it out. If you want the middle initial, if you haven't told anybody you have 3 middle names and you need to add the other 2 because it's your legal signature, you can do all of that from that portion where you're modifying or adopting what your signature is going to look like.
Great. It's actually been a big question on how to do that. Trustees and LLCs has been big.
Yeah.
Let's see. So next question is going to be, it would be great if compliance tab showed the same closing date as the commissions. Right now it's showing the estimated date from the details page.
Yeah, and we're aware of that. And again, That'll go away once we get to multiple commissions.
Okay, and then I'm glad Ariel brought this up. There's an offer when you use the offer URL when you're doing a listing. It's actually switching the numbers or switching the seller and the listing agent's information. If there's been anything made aware on that, are you aware of that? If not,
I am not. That would be something good for you to escalate up through our RTP channel. So.
See, perfect. Everybody's saying good. All right, so I don't have any more questions in here unless anybody else wants to post anything.
I'll go ahead. I'll just one other thing. So somebody said, why so many pre-tagged roles? This is a fun one because a lot of it has to do with how your board sets up their forms. And again, DocuSign programs the forms based on how your association builds them. So if your association has in one place, and I've actually seen this, on one document it said listing agent, on the other one it said listing sales associate. Now, everybody said, well, why can't DocuSign be consistent? And DocuSign is going to come back and say, well, why wasn't the board specific on who they wanted to sign in these places? So some of it's that. Now, it might be that we just got it wrong, and I'm not saying that some roles can't be cleaned up and merged together. But forms that are designed for both buyer and seller side on one form, in other words, they don't create a form that's just for seller and one form just for buyer, even though the same form. You're going to have a buyer or seller field, and then you're going to have a seller field, and you're going to have a buyer field. All those three are different roles. So even if it's the same person, DocuSign groups all those invitations to sign by role. So if you use multiple roles, even though it's the same person, that person's going to get 2, maybe 3 invitations to sign because it's sending it out per role. So it's going to send all their buyer documents, then it's going to send all of their buyer or seller wherever they're assigned to sign. Hopefully that makes sense to you. You can't combine roles. Now, you could go in and reassign that signature to the same role. So on some forms, if we just got it flat out wrong, we can look at maybe cleaning some of it up. But a lot of it has to do with the phraseology that the board or association used on the form when they set the form up for signing.
Is there any way to add in TCs so that they can have access?
One of these days.
Good answer.
That's like the #1 request from day one.
Okay.
It's something that's a lot more difficult than it sounds.
All right. That's all I've gotten questions. So unless anybody else wants to throw one more in there, we've got a little bit of time.
Okay, Bruce, when you were talking about when somebody creates an opportunity, it takes them straight to the Documents tab in DocuSign. Well, I've been training everybody to go to details because that helps, auto-populate. Why wouldn't we just, when you do that, why wouldn't it automatically just kick us to details so that agents get in the habit of doing that?
It's one of those that it's kind of 50-50 on feedback again on where people, because we're doing a lot of this based more on feedback of what our agents are saying through labs and what we just think would be the smartest thing to do. And so for now, that's where it goes, because we are also trying to pre-populate as many of those details from the offer or from the opportunity as we can, so that you don't have as much to fill out there. So habits, they can easily click over there and change what they need to. Hopefully, eventually we'll get to the point where they don't need too much because we'll be filling a lot of that stuff out from the opportunity itself.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, I know right now, am I on? Okay, I know right now the agents, when they are putting their information in command, it doesn't update their company dollar and royalty. It's wherever they start. Eventually, are we gonna get to a point where it will tie in with what their reports show?
Their company dollar and royalty, you're talking about on the commissions tab when they're filling out commissions?
Yeah.
That is tied into what you have marked as closed in Winmore. So their cap amount should be adjusting throughout the month as you close out deals in Winmore. It's not based on what they show as closed, because they could have 5 deals closed that they've never turned in. It's only on what Winmore shows posted. So
Winmore is tied in?
It's not 100% right now. We do know that there's still a few bugs in the system as far as some of the transactions, because there is still a process for when you save it in Winmore, it has to save that data to our servers, which has to go into the cloud, which has to be used for calculations. So it's not 100%, but it's a lot closer than what the green sheet was that didn't even have this, right? So for now, it's still considered an estimate because Winmore is the system of record and the sole authority on if you're capped or not. We will get it as close as we can, and then eventually it will become the source of record. But for now, just agents need to treat it as an estimate, not as a gospel truth. This is where my cap is.
All right, Bruce, I'm going to ask you the number one question I get asked every single day just about. So right now, we can go in. What's that?
All right, you're going to ask me what my favorite football team is?
That'll be my next question.
Oh, okay.
They don't ask that one quite yet. The question is going to be, right now we can put in our sellers and we can put in our buyers information. When is the rest of that information that we're putting into details in Command going to pull over into the details section within DocuSign so that we can have that autofill? And when is legal description going to be added?
So legal description is something we're looking at and trying to figure out what we can do for that. Again, right now, the interesting thing is you're going to have to fill it out somewhere. So yeah, it would be nice. The question is, what would we use it for in Command? So we may end up being able to pull it over. We are looking at that. That's one of the things. And we're going to try to keep pushing a little bit more data over as we go. But we are also looking at it from the perspective of what data do we need to store on Keller Cloud for use for metrics and reporting and all that. And if we don't really need to store it for that, is it really worth you entering it there? Because you have to enter it one time either place. And if we're not going to make use of it, it might be just easier to have you enter it over on the DocuSign side or .loop if you're using that. But we are looking at what are all those valuable metrics we could pull in and or have available to you and push into the room for you.
Should that information be bilaterally syncing?
And no, it's only one way. It only pushes from, but that's a good point too, though, because the interesting thing is in the listing side is probably the one most prevalent where like not much information is syncing over. Well, theoretically, you don't know that information quite yet, so a lot of times you're finding that information out for the first time when you're actually taking the listing itself.
Right. I guess the biggest complaint I get is, why am I filling all this information out in Command if it's not even going over into DocuSign?
Yeah, we're getting more and more of that over there.
Okay. And the next question I got on here is, when will DocuSign start recognizing tenants and landlords to bring in info from Command? So it's right along the same question.
Right.
All right. As far as questions, I think we should pretty much stop there because we've got to wrap up here. In interest of time, I want to thank Bruce for coming in. And before we go, if I could get you guys to give us some of your ahas from today's mastermind, maybe some of the things that you like, or maybe you can get Bruce to share if there's anything else coming that we should look forward to. Any ahas? I'll start off with mine. DocuSign is not a storage use. It's maybe you should be putting some of that information in other places instead of putting it there. Kind of same use case as .loop. We shouldn't be using that to store our information so much, especially based upon who owns it. We should be using Command or other sources as those storage sources. Anybody else got one?
I do.
Good.
I have one. So just learning that the client can change their name to their John Smith or their Lori Adams or to their actual name from the adopted sign, so you can have the company name and the details page so your contract fills in the right way. That was a huge aha for me. That was awesome. We just tested it and it worked. I'm so happy now.
Yeah, and I learned also that because I was doing one that's trustee, and I put it into the detail section as the trust, and then when I went in to fill it out, it actually gives you the option for buyer two, even though you didn't put a buyer two in. So you can put that in and then go change the name from I think it's like a period or whatever to the actual name. Anybody else?
I think the whole thing is just helpful to hear sometimes, just to keep hearing the why behind some of this stuff, because that's the challenge when we're trying to explain it to the agents, is just having better, conversations with the why behind it. So thank you.
Well, and it's dirty, right? Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead. I was just saying, I think it's all about storytelling right now.
Well, and it's a journey. It's not, you know, because a lot of people want it to be done. If we're ever say it's done, we're in trouble. You know, we'll continue to evolve this over time to meet the needs. But that's actually one of the things that's most exciting about it is instead of building out a system over 5 years behind the scenes and then saying, here you go, we're doing it little by little and saying, what do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Taking feedback. And that's where, you know, some of what you're going to see on multiple commissions has come directly from the feedback we've received, you know, over time in regards to how it works today. And then we did some direct labs specifically on multiple commissions on how that should work.
Some of the agents complain that Dotloop has a really great mobile app that they can use to fill out, and that's one of the reasons they don't want to move over to DocuSign. How would we respond? What would be the best response to that when it comes to using DocuSign?
The way I would say that is there's really no need for an app. If you actually go to DocuSign, and I challenge you to do this on your own phone and then see if you can tell the difference. Go to DocuSign and go to rooms.docusign.com. Go to the login page and go ahead and log in if you want to. And then usually on an iPhone, I think it's in the upper right, you're going to be able to click on a button to share it under the 3 ellipses where you can share that link. And one of the places you can do it is store that shortcut on your desktop or on your mobile phone. So you actually have a link directly to that website, right? It's a bookmark. You can do it on iPhone, you can do it on Android. If an agent asks you for the mobile app, go stick that shortcut on their phone and see if they can tell you the difference between that being a mobile web page and an actual app. And a lot of times you really can't. An app is just a native to that iOS, and you have to build it separate from the actual web page. So it's actually a new environment, if you will, that interacts with the old. DocuSign system is actually fairly robust as far as being able to use it from a mobile device. Now, if you have an agent that wants to fill out every transaction from their phone, I would question why, because those screens are so small, and I think anybody's going to struggle, even on an app, to fill something that detailed out on a phone. On a tablet, no problem. But if you're in a short pinch and I got to send out an addendum real quick, I got to do a price change real quick, you can do this pretty quick on your phone. And you don't need a mobile app. You can just go to the website, log in, and you can do pretty much anything on that mobile device, mobile web, that you can from a desktop.
Ariel's saying that DocuSign has an app already. Can we connect Room system to that app?
You are so the app will work for your clients to be able to sign, but that app is actually built on their older platform, and we are on their newer platform. The app does actually not work with the environment that we are on with DocuSign. That app wasn't really made to work with Rooms directly as much as it was for eSign.
So in earlier versions of some of the app videos we've seen, signing was done within our mobile app. Is that ever going to be coming to our mobile app, or?
There's conversations about how to make that happen.
Awesome. And just to wrap up, Road to Mega Camp, anything we should expect?
Just be watching for communication on how it's going to go. I mean, this is new for all of us, right? Mega Camp's always been this big in-person event. What I hear, it's going to be awesome. Registration opened up, I believe, today. If not, maybe tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. But I would say, as far as be planning for Mega Camp, be planning on getting some social events together in your market center. So this is one of those opportunities that after your agents, listen in on some kind of a call when we do this through, live stream style instead of in person. What are you going to do to still have those conversations with them like you would have in the hallway, going back to the hotel, or, riding the bus, or however you would have communicated them with at a physical event? So planning those after events to have, virtual happy hours and talk to them and asking them what are their ahas, what did they learn, what are they implementing. Don't forget that side of this. Just because it's a virtual event this year doesn't mean we don't still need to network with our agents and make sure they're retaining and coming back with something from the event.
Okay, and is there any Command MC or any DocuSign updates coming before then that we should be expecting?
There may be. We don't have a definite on a couple things, but like I mentioned, we're working on multiple commissions right now and the ability to be able to handle that. And that's one of the things that I know we're trying hard to get out before that event.
That'd be great. Last question. What was your favorite team?
Oh, well, anybody that knows me knows there is only one team in this world.
The
And
Buccaneers?
Kansas City Chiefs.
yeah.
Yeah, well, they got a very expensive quarterback, so.
Yeah, they backloaded that thing like you wouldn't believe.
All right, thank you so much, Virgil. We really appreciate having you on.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you
Appreciate it.
guys for all coming on
Thank
as
you.
well. I hope this was valuable to you. I will be sending the recording out to everybody so you can watch it again.
Talk to you later.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.